You were just listening to the chorus of Heaven, one of the singles off of Falcon Jane's upcoming album, Faith. Sara May, the band's frontwoman and founder, started performing under the moniker Falcon Jane almost 9 years ago. And while the band has undergone many lineup changes over the years, she found her musical partner, Andrew McArthur, in 2014, and eventually a romance would form between the two. Now, in 2020, Falcon Jane is on the cusp of releasing their third full-length album, Faith, which will be available everywhere this Friday, November 13th. I've known Sara for a couple of years now. Falcon Jane was one of the first bands to perform on my live session series Sideways back in 2018. When I found out they were releasing a new album, I knew I had to have her on my podcast. Sara and I chat about the formation of the band, the stories behind some of the songs off the new album, making music videos on a small budget, as well as our favorite venues in Toronto. Here's my chat with Sara May of Falcon Jane. Get into it. COVID has affected everyone. Mm-hmm. Do you remember what you were doing when lockdowns were being put into place?
I was such a fool when it started. I work with Darling Recordings in the States, their record label in the States, and I was talking to them, and we had this album that I was ready to release, and my Nick, the guy at Darling Recordings, was saying, listen, we're going to have to push the release of the album. And I was like, and this was like early March. And I was like, why? He's like, because of COVID. I was like, what would that have to do with music? Like, how would COVID ever affect music? He's like, you're not going to play any shows. I was like, I have friends going to the States to tour like this weekend. He's like, yeah, that's this weekend. Like, let's think about next. And he was in the States, which it's been a different situation down there, I think. But so I was just totally bewildered. I remember the first time I heard about it was at a work meeting, and my bosses were like, yeah, it's business as usual. I was like, well, why wouldn't it be? Like, what's the big deal? And then like by the following like Wednesday or Thursday, I was like in full on panic mode. Like, I was, like, in my bed with, like, the covers over my head being like, I've got it. I'm not going anywhere. Like, all that. So, yeah, it was a great week, I think, for everyone.
Yeah. And you're based out of Orangeville, is that correct?
Yeah.
Right. So, I guess luckily, just being out of far away from the city, I guess things were just, like, took a bit longer to, like, really be like, oh, shit, like, stuff's happening.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big news person, so maybe it was just that, and I just wasn't really paying attention to anything. And I mean, this was early March, right? So this was before anything got shut down, because I see like March 16th sort of thing as like kind of the date when everything closed. Mm-hmm. So this was like the first week of March when this was all happening, and I was like, I think it came as a shock to everyone, right? Like,
yeah,
it was just really hard to wrap your head around and think about how it would affect you. Like, I was like, there's no way this would ever affect my life, like playing music or releasing an album. Like, what? Yeah, right. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I was a fool.
I don't think anyone was really prepared for, like, the climate we find ourselves in. So don't be too hard on yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
How has COVID like affected the band? Have you been able to do practices or anything like that?
God, it's just been awful. I don't know. We were forming like a new band at the beginning of the year. So we had 3 new members. So we went back from being a 5-piece, or we went from being a 5-piece to a 3-piece last year. And then at the beginning of this year, we're like, okay, let's be a 5-piece again. We have this new record that needs kind of the extra instruments and the extra bodies on stage. So we had like 3 practices, and like the 3rd practice felt like really good. It felt like everyone was like getting their parts, and then that was it. And I haven't really seen them since. Like, yeah,
right.
I haven't practiced since, which is strange. And in October it'll be like a year since I've played a show, which is the longest I've ever gone, right? I'm used to playing shows like at least twice a month, right? Like for the last 10 years, or like maybe not every month, but
Yeah.
So that's been really difficult. And yeah, I was talking to a friend about it yesterday actually, and she knows someone that's like a professional ballerina down in the States, and I was like, yeah, like for people in the performing arts world, it's hard because without the shows, you aren't really like driven to practice. And so I wonder if people like dancers, ballerinas, performing artists like that, are they like working out? Are they able to go to a dance studio and do their
Right.
routines? Like what routines are they doing? So it's just, yeah, it's hard for everyone, I think.
Yeah, yeah, definitely it is. Well, what have you been doing to pass the time?
Uh, I don't know. Working. I
Yeah.
don't know. Well, Andrew and I had made Andrew's in my band, and we've been playing music together for 6 or 7 years. So he was living with me for a couple of months during the lockdown, and we made like a covers EP, which kind of felt
Yeah.
like the only really thing we could do, especially because we had this album that was ready to go, and it felt weird to like start a new album because it was like, well, no, we've got to finish this whole other album. Like it was done, but it just needed to be released, and so we made a covers album, which then like after we made it, we realized everyone made a covers album. Like so many people did covers, which I think makes total sense because it was such a crazy time. There was so much anxiety and fear, and there still is. And it's really hard to be creative and like to really it was hard for me to tap into, and it still is hard, tap into that vulnerable part of myself that feels like I can just be honest and write a song again.
Right, right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's We Get By, right? The
Yes.
EP.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really loved your cover of Wicked Game.
Oh, yeah.
It was awesome. It's like so haunting and just beautiful. It was great.
Yeah,
So
thank you. It was
good
super,
job.
yeah, thank you. It was fun to make and just something to pass the time, like true. And that was during like the major quarantine, right? Where like we weren't going even outside, so it was good to just have that to work on. And then more recently, I have been like working again, like doing video editing stuff, and now preparing for the release of the album, which has been
Right.
great. Yeah, which has been very exciting. Well, it's great, and it's kind of weird as well.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. As great as it can be.
Yeah.
What do you do again outside of the band?
So I'm a videographer and photographer. So I do that. Yeah, make
Okay.
videos, take photos. I made the 2 music videos that we've got for the album, and hopefully gonna make some more. And yeah.
That's cool. So were you able to like continue working throughout all of this, or did you also have like a big gap of like, I don't know what I'm gonna do?
Yeah, I had to stop for
Yeah.
a few months there, and and then in August it just got busy again. It was like all of a sudden everyone was like, I haven't been working for like 3 months. I all of a sudden like need a video for my business, which was great, but yeah, it just kind of seemed like everything sort of came back all at once. But I mean, we'll see. I don't know. I don't want to make any predictions. I don't want to jinx anything, but I'm just trying to
Right,
like
yeah.
do as much as I can right now while yeah, and be as safe as I can, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I know your latest single, "The Other Moon," that has a really cool video, and so was that shot during all of this then?
No, that was shot last October. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was done. Like everything, yeah, that video was
Again,
ready
everything
to
was
go.
done and ready to go.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
I see.
And so, yeah, that would be, yeah. I guess we could have tried to pull that off. I mean, the scene in the gym wouldn't have worked.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, that was finished. I haven't really tried to shoot a music video during COVID. Like I made one for our cover of Long Monday, but I just used a bunch of footage over the years of us playing shows to make it,
Right.
right? Like, and it was just found footage sort of thing. So
Right. So you didn't
Yeah.
have to do like any COVID-friendly PPE. Yeah, yeah. We had to do a couple of those kind of like you said when things started getting okay again around August, and it was just made everything so much harder
Yeah.
because you're having to keep your distance and wear a mask all day, and it's hot and stuffy. Oh,
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had to do a couple shoots where I'm wearing a mask the whole time, and it's just really, I mean, it's hot and whatever, and when you're taking photos, it's like you kind of fog up your camera as well
Right.
with the mask.
Yeah, because you're breathing onto it.
Yeah. So I just usually try to keep my distance from people, like, and try to shoot outside as much as I can, but we'll see what happens in the winter. Like, I can only hope, right? I don't know.
I know. Well, okay, well, let's chat about the new stuff. So The Other Moon is the latest single. What is the song about? For the listeners, the date is currently September 15th. So
Yeah.
we're living in the past right now.
Yeah.
But so the latest single today is The Other Moon. So we'll talk about that, and then we can kind of talk about future things, and we'll just put
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. So The Other Moon. Okay, so The Other Moon is I'm half Italian, right? So I had very Italian grandparents. And my nonna, she was a very interesting woman. And she always like kind of would joke about her death and just, say things like, "Oh, when a nonna die, I go to the other moon," like something like that. And I was like, "The other moon,
Oh.
where's that?" So, but sometimes she wasn't so like pleasant about it. But yeah, that's what that is. And the three verses at the beginning of the song, I wrote them immediately after one of kind of our last phone calls together, and it was like a very emotional phone call. Her health was really declining, and I said something like, "Oh, I miss you," or whatever, and she was like, "Miss me? Like, oh yeah, like, yeah, right, you'll miss me, like, why don't you come see me," sort of thing. Like, you know what, you'll miss me when I'm dead, basically. Like, she was just like a fiery lady, which,
Yep.
is kind of
Very European.
yeah. The Catholic guilt on there too.
Yeah.
So then I like obviously got very upset, and we hung up the phone, and then those like three verses just like poured out of me. So it was just I'd had the ending of the song already written, but was struggling with the beginning, and then it just like all seemed to kind of fit together. And and then when she ended up passing away, that like a few months after that, couple of months after that, like the day after she died, I was like, I'm going and I'm renting a bunch of recording equipment, and I'm just starting to record. Like, it was like it was in a daze, and I was like at Long and McQuaid, just like being like, that interface and that mic and like 17 cables and just like all this stuff. And I just brought it all home with me. And then I wasn't planning to make an album or anything. I just wanted to record like 3 songs. And then as the year went on, this was last year, as the year went on, all these songs just kind of kept happening. And
Right.
yeah, by December of last year, I was done the album.
Right.
So, yeah.
So was this different to what your normal writing process is?
No, this was like, in terms of the recording process, it was different. Like our last album, Feeling Freaky, we went to a studio and we had like 5 or so days at the studio, and like we got everything down in those 5 days.
Right.
And we had all the songs, and we were a band, and we were practiced, and everyone kind of knew what they were going to play. And with this, it was, I was at home. It's like looking back to last year, I'm like, why didn't I go out more while I still had the chance? But I was at home recording, and it was just very like piecemeal, I think that's the word, piecemeal. And Andrew and I just did it all ourselves. Like, we recorded everything ourselves and played everything ourselves. And I started with 3 songs, and then I kind of like wrote 2 more, but not even thinking that they're going to be on the album. And then I had 6, and I said to my label, like, okay, I've got an EP. I'm ready to release this EP of 6 songs. And he said, like, well, it seems like you're still writing, so why don't you just keep going? And I was like, what? Keep going? And then I ended up like, he was right. There were like 3 more or 4 more songs that just kind of came out, and they're like, I don't know, arguably probably some of my favorite songs on the album, the ones that we added at the end, right? So
Oh, cool.
yeah.
Can you walk me through the music video for The Other Moon? It's super, super cool. I've just been watching it a bunch, and it's like super like weird and experimental, but like, I don't know, it's awesome. Can you kind of give me a rundown on how the idea came out? And
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it was so last October, almost a year ago, my best friend Dominique, her and I met at film school, so we're both like video people, filmmakers, she was staying with me for a month, and she heard the song, and she just like fell in love with the song, and she was like, it gives me chills, and she just like really resonated with it. And she was like, she kind of was like, we should make a video, and like there should be like a rocket launch, like right as the chorus hits, it's like the rocket's like going into space. And I was like, okay. I remember us sitting down, we're like, okay. And she like found this like kind of NASA footage or this movie of space, and she was playing the song, we were watching the movie, and we are going like, yeah, like totally, this totally fits. And then it was kind of like, okay, so we've got to get me into space. How do we do that? Like,
Right.
what do we have available to us?
On a budget.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the whole video, I think only costs like $300, and that includes
No
like
way.
the beer and pizza that we brought to my mechanic, like for letting us use
shit.
his shop. Yeah, it was like totally DIY. Like what was I gonna say? Yeah, so we like, it just so happened, like I think she got like a flat tire or something like that in her car, and so we had to bring it to my mechanic shop. And then while we were there, she was like, Sarah, like you should ask him if we can shoot a scene here. And I was like, no, he's not gonna say yes. Like she was like, just ask. And then I was like, can we shoot a video here? And he was like,
Yeah.
sure, why not? And I was like, what? Okay, cool. And then like called up our friends that are like metal salvagers or whatever, like scrappers, and went to their scrapyard and got a bunch of like spaceship looking material, like old computers and sheet metal and that sort of thing. And then yeah, it was all just very like DIY. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, it looks like it was way more than $300.
Yeah. And it's
That's
just shot on
awesome.
my like little dinky camera. Like my camera is a decent camera, but it's not like a fancy old camera, right? Like it's
Yeah. What are you shooting on?
It's a Sony A6300, which I've had for a few years. It's just like the Sony does such great cameras, and
Yeah.
the mirrorless ones are just, the video quality is insane. Like my little camera for the price point is like, it's just incredible what it can do video wise. But that being said, I did just order an upgrade today.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, it's time for me to.
What did you order?
I'm gonna get an A7R, but just the Mark
Yeah.
II. Like it's the older one, but
Yeah.
it's a decent
it's still
upgrade
a great
for me.
camera.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And the
yeah.
video quality is amazing, right? Like
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. That's like for when I was doing my my video interviews with bands when this all started. That's what I took with me to all the shows.
Oh yeah. Was it a
And
Mark
it's-
II?
Yeah, and it's a 7S actually.
Oh, okay.
It's my my buddy's camera. He's just nice enough to let me use it whenever I need it. Because
Yeah.
I just have a Canon like oh my god, the models. It's literally the one that like everyone had 10 years ago.
Like a 5D?
No,
Or, like,
not even
a
no.
60D?
T4i is
Oh,
what I
one
have.
of those. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
which is which was cool 10 years ago, but like now it just doesn't cut it. So
Yeah.
yeah, Sony all the way. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's super exciting.
I know. I'm excited. It's on back order. Like yeah, but in a few weeks I'll probably have it, and then
Cool.
more music videos.
Yeah. Yeah. There. I was like looking through it, and there's just some of the shots are just so cool. But I think my favorite shot is the one where you're in the helmet and you have the two LEDs and you're kind
Oh,
of like
yeah.
looking around. Like that just felt like it was like right out of like a Ridley Scott movie.
That's awesome. I mean, I don't know how much to give away here, but that was just shot like right there in my living room, and
way.
those are just these little. I have some. They're like you get them from the dollar store. They come in a pack of 5, and there's like a red, white, blue, green.
Okay.
Light, and they're supposed to go on your fingers, and they're like little finger lights.
Oh, for like the raver kids?
Yeah, I don't know. Dollarama sells them. So we just
Yeah.
stuck 2 of those little lights in Dom's motorcycle helmet, and that was and it's just like
awesome.
we're like in my living room. But the key to this video was we we needed a smoke machine, and I don't know why we ended up calling this like a pyrotechnics company in Newmarket. I should really throw them a shout out. I forget their name, but I think it's called like Starlight Pyrotechnics. And they were like, do you have a fog machine or a smoke machine? They're like, yeah, just come by. And they ended up giving us this like industrial sized smoke machine, like that people use at like the ACC to like fill the
Right.
ACC, they're like, yeah, just $50 or whatever, and I was like, okay, and there was like, okay, I'll bring it back tomorrow, but then I was like, actually, can I keep it for a week? And they were like, yeah, sure. We're like, no problem. And that really, like, once like you press the on button and like within a second, like my whole garage would be like, you couldn't see anything. Like, it was
Right,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
It's really lovely how, when you're forced to like work within like very small budgets, just how helpful people are. Just because they're just excited. They're just like, oh my God, yeah, like
Yeah.
I'll help you out any way I can. It's really lovely. We definitely like pulled so many favors in the last year. So it's so nice when people just like either believe in the project or just, they're just like happy to help. It's really nice.
I know it was so, yeah, I love that. I like every video I make, like, I am a videographer, but all my videos are like very low to no budget, like just using whatever resources are available, right? And I just think
Yeah.
there's like something special about that. I mean, maybe it's because I don't have a lot of money, but it's like just being able to create something like beautiful and magical from like something from nothing, basically.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah, I think it's a very like, no, I don't want to say 2020 thing, but it's just like a very like our generation thing, just doing that because like pretty much everyone has like a decent camera now. So like, if you have a camera that makes things look decent, like it just helps a lot, for sure.
For sure. For sure.
Okay, so now we're gonna pretend that we're in the future.
Okay.
So
all right.
the latest single is Heaven.
Yeah.
Tell me about that song.
Okay. So yeah. I was just sorry, I'm just thinking Heaven. So this was a song that it's a hard song for me to pin down because I think it like sounds different than how it feels to me. I originally kind of wrote it as like a love song. But it was after this like really nice camping trip that Andrew and I had gone on up to Cape Croker, which has a indigenous name that I'm just gonna totally mess up saying, but it's like Nayashiniming, something like that. I'm so bad at saying that, but so yeah, we were up there camping for a few days, and there was just this like incredible sunset where like the whole sky was pink and it turned like all the water pink. And I don't know if we're naked, but we like walked out into the lake and like just like we're surrounded in like this pink color, and anyway, it was just a really special time, and we both like went home after that trip, and I just like wrote Heaven, and he had wrote another kind of cool song. I don't know exactly what song, and then we like texted each other the next day being like, I just wrote like the best song ever, and he was like, I did too, and I was like, nice. So it was just like a really inspiring experience. But that being said, like there is this kind of, you've heard the song, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There's this, the chorus is spooky sounding, right? It's not like this like love song, blah, blah, blah. It's like got this really kind of dark side of it. And I was trying to figure out where that came from within me. And I think it's just like almost like a frustration of the human condition in relation to nature,
Okay.
We have this really like two-sided relationship with nature. Like we love it and we're like, it's so special and it's so beautiful and we worship it, but at the same time we so casually like destroy it and disregard it and don't think twice about it, right, as a species. So I think that's kind of where that came from. And then the idea of this heaven, I mean, this whole album is called Faith, and so it really examines sort of the faith that I was raised in, the Catholic faith, and religion in general, and that, this afterlife, this heaven place, maybe it's not so much above us and in the sky, maybe it's more on earth with us, but we're totally just disregarding it and destroying it,
Right.
That's as best as a description as I could come up
deep.
with.
I like that. No, that's cool.
Yeah, it's hard, with me because I don't really remember writing any of my songs. So it's like they come and then they're written and then I'm like, whoa, there's a song, and then I'm like, I wonder what this was about. Some of them are a bit more literal, like The Other Moon, I knew exactly, you know, when I wrote those verses, I can remember that moment. I don't remember like thinking of the words or trying to rhyme or anything. It was just, they just
came
came.
out of
But
you.
I remember the phone call that I had. But, you know, the ending even of The Other Moon, what if I'm not ready to love? What if I'm not ready to move on? I don't know when that happened. It just was already there. It was just like someone
Right,
gave it
yeah.
to me, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's how I feel about that.
Cool. So the new album, yeah, you touched on that, Faith. When is that dropping? Do you have a release date for that yet?
Yeah, November 13th, 2020.
November 13th. I'm just gonna
Yay.
make that. Yeah, that's yeah, you sent me the link. I've listened to it a couple of times. It's beautiful. I love it. I really enjoyed Feeling Freaky when you guys came on Sideways. I listened to that a bunch, and it definitely sounds like you guys have like evolved a bit, but still stayed the same. If that makes sense. And now hearing a bit of like the backstory on some of these songs, I'm just like, okay, I'm getting it. I'm getting it. What song are you most proud of on the album?
Ooh, proud. Pride. Okay. You know, I really love the first track, All of a Sudden.
Yes. Okay. Cool.
Yeah,
I like that one a lot too.
thank you. Yeah, it was one of the additional three that I kind of added at the last minute.
Okay.
Not that there was a deadline or anything, but that I just kind of wrote after while we were recording the rest of it. And it's just always felt very special to me. I really love the you know, just the way it starts, and there's that awesome like synth riff that Andrew plays, and it just feels so like happy and like cool, but it's a very like sad song for me as well. Like the content is very sad, and then I just think like the vocal performance in the chorus, I remember the day that I was recording that I was not in a good mood, and I had tried to record those vocals so many times, and then I just came, like, I don't know if I came home one day from something and I was just in a really like down and out mood, and just like recorded the vocals for that song and Take Your Turn, which is also kind of a yelly song, and I just think it just really captured a really good emotion. So that song is kind of this duality of, it sounds really like happy and pleasant, but like it's, you know, yeah, it was a very sad time writing that song.
Yeah,
and
right.
singing
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
It's an interesting juxtaposition, right? Like,
Yeah.
you have that, like, I have noticed that a lot of your songs kind of sound like that. Like the music always kind of sounds happy, but then you can really like tell when it's a sad song in the way you sing, or even the lyrics, right? So it's yeah, I like that you guys as a band play with that a lot.
Cool. Yeah, I'm glad you picked up on that. That's been kind of, not that I try to do that, but it's something I've noticed about my work. It's always like putting two contrasting things sort of together.
Yeah. Do you think like when you do get to perform it live, are you going to be able to like kind of like perform with that emotion in mind?
Yeah, always. We were performing this song last year. Like, yeah, kind of. I guess I wrote it in June or whatever, and so we kind of performed it a few times, August and September, and yeah. I would like to, I liked starting a set with it because it really pushes me vocally to just like, I like basically have to scream. And anyone listening to this podcast that hasn't heard the song, like it's a pleasant scream, not,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not like, ah!
Yeah.
But yeah, and it was cool to just like get it out of the way, because it also like, it takes a lot from my voice. And if I'd already sang like 10 songs, I don't know if I could like do that at the end, you know?
Right.
Same with Heaven. Singing that chorus of Heaven is really hard to do as well, unless you have like 5 singers with you, because it's very much like it's a choir of people, right? So, but yeah, with every time I perform, if it's a good performance, I'm getting into the headspace of the song. Like I have to. A lot of the times if I'm not doing that, I like I'll forget the words, or like kind of second guess the lyrics, or second guess the chord changes or whatever, unless I'm
Right.
like in the song, you know?
Interesting. I know we touched on it a little bit, but what was the main difference making this album versus, say, Feeling Freaky?
Well, yeah, just making it at home, and it
Yeah.
was just much more of an intimate experience and a patient experience, because it took from, the beginning of February till the end of December to really make it, like record it, also write like half of it, mix it and everything. But we had that time and we had that space because I would just walk out my bedroom door and everything was there. The microphone was set up, the interface was there, all the instruments were surrounding me. So
Right.
it gave me time to play with the songs a bit more and, play with the piano and just write as we were kind of recording. And with Feeling Freaky, like I said, we had everything kind of pre-written before we went into the studio. So it was just very much
Right.
like, get in, play your part, go home. But it was still
And this
like
one was a bit more organic.
for sure. And like,
Yeah.
I would say organic and intimate. Like, it just feels a lot more like me. And with Feeling Freaky, we were playing it as a 5-piece band in the studio. And with this one, it was just me and Andrew. And we had our friend Evan Gordon mix it, but that was all like after the fact, right? So he did a
Right.
lot to the songs, which was awesome, and made them really like come to life. But in terms of like getting or arranging them and recording everything, it was just me and him, and it was just very personal.
I do want to get into your partnership with Andrew, because you guys have been making music together for so long, and you have like We Get By and then this project too. How long have you been signed to Darling Records?
So they signed us right before we released Feeling Freaky. So we had released Go With The Flow, and Nick had heard it. Someone was like, you got to hear this. And he did. And then he was in Pittsburgh, like he lives in Pittsburgh. And he came all the way to Guelph, Ontario to see us play a show. And then,
Cool.
I was thinking about it last night, actually. It was kind of not embarrassing, but my dad was there. My dad and his partner were there, and my dad was planning to like take us out for lunch after our show, but then like this record label guy was there, so we're like, just come out for lunch with us and my dad. and like it was just like, and like I was trying to act cool, but like then like my dad's like, well, so what do you want to order? And I'm like, oh God, no, but it was
Yeah.
cute. I mean, it worked out. So that was in 2018, I guess, and so that this is really like the first record that we're doing together. He's known about it since the start. Like he released Feeling Freaky with us, but like this is the one he's been signed on since the beginning. Yeah.
Right. Has that process changed at all? Because it sounds like Feeling Freaky was pretty much done already, at least in concept and everything, and then you went in to record it. Was having a label behind you this time around, did that change anything?
Yeah, the whole experience was just so different. I'm a big questioner. Like, it's killing me right now to not ask you more questions, but I'm trying to keep it about me. Like, I just love asking questions to people.
You can totally ask questions.
Okay,
no worries.
cool.
Yeah.
But like, so, and I like to, get people's opinions on stuff. So it was really nice to have him to bounce ideas off of and send him like drafts of songs and stuff. And he's such a cool guy, and just has the best intentions. So it was just another kind of voice or another opinion to contribute. But he was never trying to like affect the artistic direction of the songs or anything. He was just like,
Right.
for example, when he was like, we shouldn't do an EP, we should do a full album, keep recording. Like, that was it.
Right.
That was him. And that was awesome, because I'm like,
And now you have 3 songs that you're so happy with.
exactly. And it
Right.
is a full length album, and we're like printing it to vinyl and everything. Like, it's like,
Oh, that's so
so
exciting.
much bigger deal than like, like I was originally just going to like upload 3 songs to Bandcamp and like call it a day. Right. But like, it's been great for him to like believe in the project and just just push me on that side of it. But he's, he's pretty chill. Like, he pretty much is like, I just want you to make something great. And now that you have, like, I'm just going to help it get heard, which sweet. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Is the current like cover that you have on SoundCloud, I think, is the link you sent me. Is that going to be the cover of the album?
Yes. The green
Yeah?
picture. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. So, oh my gosh, I have so many stories. I feel like I haven't talked to anyone in so long. Okay.
I know.
So that picture, I had just like last summer, I was doing a lot of work on like my visual identity with this really incredible woman, and she's a fashion designer, so she was like kind of doing my look, but it was also like it was kind of like identity boot camp at the time. Like she was really making me like, she's like, do you believe in yourself? And I'd be like, I don't know. And she's like, well, if you don't, then like just give up, you know? So it was like, like really like pushing me, which was awesome because I'd never had that experience before. And so we were like thinking about my look and what kind of colors to wear and all this kind of stuff. And she actually made that jacket that I'm wearing in the photo. Like that's her
nice.
brand and her design.
Yeah, it's a beautiful jacket. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, green velvet. Anyway, so she said like this color like looks really good on you. So it was like after one of our first kind of like hangouts or sessions or whatever, and she was kind of, you know, she was kicking me into gear a little bit, trying to get me to take myself more seriously, which was really hard. Like it wasn't a you know, easy experience. It was like hard for me to look at myself, like even look in the mirror and like really be like, okay, I'm a professional. Okay, I can take myself seriously. So anyway, after like one of our first hangouts or sessions, I went home and I was like, I'm going to try taking some pictures of myself. And so I put up my little Sony a6300 on a tripod and I went out to my backyard and I just like stood in front of my camera and ended up taking like, I don't know, 50 pictures with like the self timer. So I'd like go and press the button and like run and try to pose. And that picture was like the first picture that I took of like those 50.
Cool.
And there was just something like about it. And I never thought it was going to be an album cover or anything. I was just like practicing being like, what's my look? Or like, what's where can this like, how can this Falcon Jane brand develop? Because you're always, I hope no one listening is like, wow, you're a loser. This is all really corny. Like, you should just make music. But it's like, you have to think about this stuff as an artist.
Absolutely.
You got to, like, think about, like, your image and stuff, especially when you're, like, a kind of a one-man team. It's like, you know, so I took that picture of myself. And I'm even my own photographer. And then I it just ended up being a great picture. And it wasn't my idea to use it for the album cover. It was Nick, like, from Darling Recordings. He was like, this picture. And I was like, what? Really? Like, that was just, like, a picture I took of myself. And he was like, yeah, it's great. Like, it's awesome. I was like,
it really works. It totally, because something I love doing is looking at album covers when I'm listening to an album to really try and, like, figure out, like, okay, well, why did they do this? And, like, the picture definitely does... It is a visual aid to what you're listening to because it is again, it's a beautiful photo, but then you look sad in it, right? Like, or you're like solemn, and it definitely, like, that's the vibe of the album. I think, like, it definitely, like, in a picture captures that. So that's why I was wondering that. That's cool.
Yeah, that's good to know. Like, to me, it's like, it's so hard. It's like, I don't even know what the song sounds like. I don't know what that picture looks like because it's me, right? But no, that's what Nick said too. It's like, it totally suits the album. Like, and that's all you want from an album cover is something that, like, suits the sound of the album and it's like a visual aid, moment. Like you said. So that's cool. Like, it is an interesting picture. Like, I don't really know what my expression is. Is it sad? Is it kind of angry? Is it at peace?
I know, it's right? Kind of like a Mona Lisa smile thing, right? Like, she's smiling, is she not?
Mona Lisa. Yeah.
How did you get hooked up with this? Sorry, I missed her name. The lady that was trying to...
Yeah, she's just... Well, I met her through my mom. She lives in the area, so it's... I don't know. I'm like... Yeah, I'm undecided about, I think I can, it's Linda Lundstrom. She's like an awesome fashion designer. She was doing some work with me. So she lives in the area. She became friends with my mom. She like came to my house one day and heard me play some songs. And then that was a few years ago. And then last year she was like, I want to like help you. And I was like, okay. So cool. It was really lucky and awesome. She's a super cool lady.
Yeah, again, that like goes in like how we were talking about, you know, making a music video for nothing and like just pulling favors and just people believing in you and all of that, right? That's a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
You have been pretty busy in 2020, considering the circumstances we find ourselves in, and now we're going to get into the partnership with Andrew a bit. So I do want to look at the We Get By EP. Again, like I said, wicked game, loved it. I love that song anyway, but like this was really awesome hearing it, hearing this version of it. I think you touched on it before. You guys just kind of decided like we need some sort of creative outlet. You know, we're not able to go outside, we're not able to see anyone. Do you remember when you were like, hey, let's make a cover album or a cover EP?
Yeah, wasn't like a big moment. We didn't like crack a bottle of champagne and we're like, we're gonna do it. It was just like like he had started recording what's it called, Only Love Can Break Your Heart, and The Night Comes Down by Queen. So, and then I was kind of, I don't know, no, yeah, so then I was kind of already sort of working on Wicked Game as well, and then it was just kind of like, hey, you know what we should do? We should do some songs together and make a EP together. And like, Andrew plays on all the Falcon Jane albums, so it's funny that all of a sudden it was like Falcon Jane and Andrew McArthur, but it was because he had like done these two songs pretty much on his own. Like, you know, we ended up like maybe making some tweaks to them together, but it was like we were kind of coming together with separate things, and then there were a couple songs that we truly did together, like Long Monday and Sweetest Kill. So yeah.
This might be a personal question, so don't worry if you don't want to answer it. But like, are you guys like partners? Like,
yeah,
yeah, you are. Okay, yeah. I remember that from like when we did our last interview back in the day, and I was just like, I don't know. Yeah. Tell me about having like your romantic partner and a bandmate be the same person.
Oh God, it's like the best thing and the worst thing all at once.
I could imagine.
Yeah, it's like, it's so nice. That's how we met. Like, he joined my band and I was like, whoa, who's this cutie? And then I was like, if you want to stay in my band, you got to date me. No, it's not like that. But yeah, and so it's like music has always been a big part of our relationship. And that's what's also very strange about this year is having that be gone. Like, I think there was a moment over the last 6 months where we were kind of looking at each other going like, uh-oh, this huge part of our relationship is gone for who knows how long.
Right.
What the heck? Like, what are we going to do?
Yeah, what do we do now?
Yeah, he started mountain biking, and I've just been staying at home crying. No, but yeah, so it's, like, music has always been there, so it's weird to imagine ever dating him without him being in my band, or us being in a band together, I should say, because I've never experienced that reality.
Right.
But yeah, it's awesome because when you have to go to band practice, you get to go with your best friend and your sweet cutie and get to spend a lot of time with them. But then at the same time, it's like, yeah, I don't know. Like, it's hard. It's like working with your partner side by side,
definitely.
and one of you is like kind of the boss. Like, I guess I'm kind of the boss. So I'm sure it's weird for people that are in the band with us too. Like, we definitely like fight and argue. And
right, like non-band things.
Yeah, well, or like band things, but it's like actually relationship things. I'm like,
yeah,
why didn't you bring your like bass amp or something? But it's like,
right.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't even remember. It's been so long since we played a show, but like, yeah, I don't know. It's great because I feel so lucky to have found someone that's so talented, and like he really brings so much to Falcon Jane. Like, it wouldn't be the same without him. But yeah, it is hard because it's sometimes I don't know, it's hard to separate it, and it's hard to like go from one thing to the other. Like, you know, when we'd have band practice at my house and then he would like sleep over after, it would take like half an hour to an hour for us to like be like, oh yeah, we're also boyfriend and girlfriend, but like, let's not touch in bed tonight just because it's like we've spent too much time together.
Right,
you know,
right.
Or like, you know, it's like, yeah, anyway, that's my best way of explaining it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
How quickly did that well, actually, this is kind of going to tie in because I kind of want to get a history of Falcon Jane.
Oh, wow.
And Andrew's going to come back in, obviously.
Oh.
So, when did you start performing under the moniker Falcon Jane?
Oh, yeah. That was like probably like 2012-ish. Well, that was when I released an album under Falcon Jane. So it's probably more like 2010 or 2011. I was going to open mics a lot, and my name is Sara May, and it's a nice name, can't complain, but it's just a very popular name and not really like Googleable and or
Right,
like
yeah. There's a lot of Sara Mays,
there's a lot of Sara Mays out there, and so I just was like, I need a new name, and Falcon Jane just kind of came to me one day, so I just started writing it down on open mic lists.
Okay.
Which was quite brave, thinking back to like being like 17, being like, I'm Falcon Jane, and but yeah, so that's how it started. And then I did release like an album so that I just made myself basically in 2012.
Take Off, right?
Yeah, and that was that, and that was the first like Falcon Jane release.
Cool. How long have you been making music? Did this all start like kind of when you were doing no, you would have been making music before the open mics, I would imagine.
Yeah, well, you got to have something to play when you go to an open mic, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
But I was pretty late to the game. Like I played guitar when I was like 10 or 12 or something like that, but didn't really like stick. And then when I was 16, I wrote my first song, and I was like,
Okay.
holy crap, that felt good. Oh my God, I love this so much. And then, yeah, so from the time I was like 16 or 17 till now, so almost like 13 years or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you remember the like what made you decide to write your own song?
Yeah. A breakup, of course. Like
Obviously. Okay.
duh. Yeah, but it was funny. It was it's a good song. I still remember the first verse of it, but I like recorded it on some crappy old like computer mic after I wrote it, and I'd just been like dumped or whatever, and then I brought it, and I remember being in my high school library, and I had it on my iPod, and I said to my ex-boyfriend, I was like, you have to listen to this or something, like listen to this, and then he like put in the earbuds and listened to it, and then like kind of started crying, and then he was like, okay, we can be together again, and I was like, what, just from a song?
Oh shit.
So then
I have power.
Music is power. So yeah, not that I'm like using it to manipulate people, but in a way kind of. No, it was just like I just think I have such a hard time. People are probably gonna be like, yeah, you've been blabbing on and on and on, but I do have a hard time like being emotional and really like speaking about my emotions to people and being open about how I feel. But music, that's how I do that, right? Like that's so
Right.
It was just it's the songs are how I say all the things that I don't really feel comfortable saying otherwise, you know?
Yeah, for sure. It's like it's how you can be your most honest self, right?
Totally. Yeah.
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 Did that song make it to that first album?
No.
No?
No.
It's not anywhere? No one can find it?
No. It's cute, but no. It's too sad.
Oh, okay. Okay, so then this came out 2012. Takeoff came out 2012. Andrew joins in 2014.
Yes.
So, yeah, tell me how did you find Andrew?
Okay, so it was a very organic kind of thing. My brother was working with his old friend from high school, Jay, and they were like doing like roofing and stuff together, and Jay was like, oh, like I really want to play in a band or whatever, and Andrew was like, you should play with my sister. So Jay came over and we started jamming together, and Jay's awesome because he was immediately like, we got to get a drummer, we got to get a bassist, like we got to do all, and I was like, whoa, okay,
right.
like I'm okay,
Yeah.
sure. So, and this was in Orangeville, right? So it was pretty small town vibes. And then Jay, like, so then I said, well, my friend Jimmy, who was the kind of the guy who mixed and mastered Takeoff, I was like, he plays drums, we could get him to play drums. And then Jay had this friend Andrew that he was like, he plays bass, or like I don't even think he had played bass at that point. He was like, he owns a bass, so he
Right,
can come
okay.
and join the band. And then he did, and yeah, the rest is history. And then people, you know, kind of came and left and changed up. We've had like 1,000 different iterations of Falcon Jane, but Andrew has stuck through them for
It's
some
been a
reason.
constant.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like jumping around through the discography. So Andrew joins in 2014 and Alive and Well comes out about a year later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then we have a pretty big gap between, well, I guess Love Songs comes out after that in 2017. So yeah, you guys you've been putting music out like every couple of years, right?
Yeah. Love Songs was something I made by myself when Andrew and I were broken up for 6 months.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but he was still in the band, but I was, yeah, which was even harder than. Yeah,
I can imagine.
yeah,
Oh my God.
It was horrible. But I hope he never hears this. He's gonna kill me for disclosing so much information. He's gonna be like, "You're supposed to be private." Anyway, but I don't care. It's all in the songs anyway. Like it's quite
Right, yeah.
obviously a breakup album. That little like it's not even an album. It's like 10 minutes of music. That Love Songs thing. So yeah, we made Alive and Well, and then. There was just so many, between Alive and Well and Feeling Freaky, there was like 5 or 6 different like band formations, you know, like.
Okay.
So it took a while to get to a place where we felt ready to make an album, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's 4 years until Feeling Freaky comes out, right? Like since Alive and Well.
Yeah, or 3
I think.
years, yeah. Yeah.
3 years, yeah. Okay, so yeah, that's what I was going to ask is why there was such a big gap. You just
3
answered
years
that.
isn't that big. Come on.
So yeah, Feeling Freaky comes out. This is the first time you're on a label as well, and you got to like perform the album all over the province. So you guys have played a lot of shows, like you said. Every you tried a couple of times a month for the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
Where is your favorite place to play?
Ooh. Well, like anywhere or like in Ontario or.
Anywhere, yeah, anywhere.
Well, we love Rainbow Trout Music Festival.
Okay.
That's in Manitoba, and just everyone there is so nice. And we've played there 2 years in a row, the last 2 years. And last year we got to play at like 11 p.m. on like a Friday night, and it was just like super fun and just such great vibes. So that was super great. And then like in terms of like Toronto. There's a lot of great places, but the Burdock once that opened up. That's
Burdock's
such a,
awesome.
Yeah, it's such a nice place, right? And it always sounds really good there. Everyone's really friendly. They give you a good discount on like food, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, they just like treat their artists well. There's a green room, which is really nice to have. Like they did such a good job with that place, and yeah, I really like it.
Yeah. Hopefully it stays open.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be one of the ones that falls. That's very sad realization too. I feel like every other month it's like, oh, this place is closing down. They've announced recently that Sneaky D's is going to be turned into a condo building, and
I know.
oh, people are up in arms. Like,
I
it's
just
awful.
don't get Toronto. Like, they're really, I don't know who they are, but they are really just like sucking the life out of it, and it's
I
a
know.
shame. Like, I don't know. Like, I know Now Magazine just posted an article or wrote an article about how all the artists are moving out of Toronto, but I don't blame them. I mean, I don't live there anymore, and I don't really have a desire to live there. And it's like artists are moving to Orangeville, and I was like, Orangeville. I was like,
Sweet.
this is where I live. I was like, I already live here, so great. But
Ahead of the curve.
yeah, I'm a trendsetter.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, it's just like I went to Montreal recently, and Montreal just has such a, I mean, it's weird right now, but it has such a more artsy vibe, or like there's
Definitely.
still that like room, there's still room for artists, there's still affordable apartments, there's still cool things happening. There's murals all over the city.
Yeah.
Toronto is like all glass and concrete. Like,
Yeah.
it's just,
Yeah.
it's too bad.
Yeah, you really got to like look for like the gems in Toronto, right? It's really sad. I know what you mean about Montreal. You just go there and you just feel like this is an artist city. Like you can feel it. It's just like so alive and artsy. It I don't know. It kind of reminds me, not to say that it's like run down, but it just reminds me of like Kensington Market was a city. That's what Montreal would be to me. Like it's got that vibe to it.
Totally. Yeah, I know. I love it there. Thinking about moving there, but not right now.
Yeah, no. Now would be the worst time.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. What are some of your favorite places in the city to go to, like before?
Ooh. Before, are we talking Canada now specifically?
Or I was going to say Toronto. Like what? I don't know.
Toronto.
Like, are there cool spots I don't know about, or?
Oh, I don't know. I can't remember like any like venues outside of Toronto just because like I haven't unfortunately had the chance to really check too much out. But the Longboat, is that what it's called? Like behind the Great Hall, there's another
Longboat
venue.
Hall, yeah, in the basement.
Longboat Hall.
Yeah, that place is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really love the Longboat.
The Great Hall in
Sneaky
general,
D's.
that whole building is awesome.
It's
yeah.
wonderful,
Yeah.
and I don't know if it ever comes down to like we're gonna put a condo here, like oh my god,
No.
there's gonna be petitions.
Yeah. No. Hopefully
Um,
not. Yeah,
yeah,
Sneaky D's
hopefully
is
not.
cool too. That's got
Sneaky
like,
D's
yeah,
is awesome.
good memories
I'm
there.
so sad about it because I'm not from Canada originally. I'm from South Africa, and then my dad's Swiss, so I have like a lot of friends in Europe and South Africa. And anytime someone comes to visit Toronto, Sneaky D's was the first place. I'm like, we got to go get nachos, and
Yeah.
we're gonna go to like this really cool punk rock looking place where there's like you can just write on the walls and the table and everything. And now that I don't have that, or I might not have that, I'm like, shit, where am I going to take people?
Yeah, where's cool?
Kensington
anymore?
Market.
Yeah.
Kensington Market's like, I don't know, I feel like places come and go in Kensington Market, but there's always something going on there. So
Yeah.
I know like the supermarket's really fun too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's like, oh, you know, I went to, I was really late to the game for going there, but the Baby G.
Oh,
I
yeah.
really like the Baby G. It's got a cool vibe there too.
For sure.
And
Yeah, and the Garrison too. Like they're owned by the same
Garrison,
people, and
yeah.
they're both very good. Yeah, Baby
Yeah.
G's very cool. And nice stage, nice size venue for sure. The front room is cool, and the Cameron House. You can't forget about the Cameron House. Have you been there?
Cameron House,
Yeah,
of course.
it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
If that place goes, that's what's gonna make me cry. I mean, I love Sneaky D's too. I just like I had a phase in university where I would go there like every week for nachos.
Yeah.
Like it was an addiction.
Did you go? Did you go on any of the? You know, like how they have like a different theme every night.
Yes,
What was
always.
your favorite night to go?
I think they had like a veggie nachos for half price on like Wednesdays or Thursdays or something, and I was like,
Yeah.
Or like I don't know if it was a King's Crown or something, but
Oh my god!
always
King's
the half
Crown.
price nachos was like my jam. Or
Yeah.
yes, whatever deal it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. My girlfriend and I, like the day we saw the article about Sneaky D's potentially closing down, we ordered like takeout from there. We got the big nacho thing, and we had that. They've like developed some crazy, because nachos is not something you do for takeout. If you
No.
think about it, it just gets all soggy and gross. But they have like this, unlike anything I've seen for nachos, but it comes in like this special container that I don't know who designed it, but it keeps everything dry and
What?
hot and tasty. Yeah, it's amazing.
And it's layered, like they've got all the stuff
Yeah.
on the nachos.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean,
What?
it's obviously never going to be as good as if you're getting it fresh, but
Yeah, with like a picture of that like Cool or Buzz beer
yes,
that's like super
that's right.
cheap.
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I know. Aw.
But yeah. Oh, and then since doing this OTR thing, I've gone to Lee's Palace a lot, and I love it there.
Yeah.
If you're a videographer, it's like the best place to you can go anywhere you want. It's very easy to like go up to the green room or get on stage or go up above. So I've really liked that, and just like the bands that tend to go there, and then the Opera House, of course too. But we're just getting
Yeah.
bigger and bigger.
Yeah. Massey Hall is pretty nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's cool. When did you guys coin the term ples rock?
Okay, so that was Andrew and I think like even before we started dating, so it must have been like 2014. We were playing the show, I think we were playing a show as a two-piece, so it was just me and him practicing, and like we would practice a song, and after every song we'd go like nice we're like, yeah, that's nice, and like we were saying nice all the time. We're like, yeah, nice one. I like what you did, that was very nice. And we're like,
Right.
okay, we gotta stop saying nice so much. And I remember we like had a phone call, and we're like, too much, we're saying nice too much, we gotta think of another word. And we're like, I think I like looked up synonyms, and I was like, oh, pleasant. We could say some things like pleasant. Like, oh, that was
Yeah.
very pleasant. And he was like, oh, yeah, like ples. I was like, yeah, like ples. And so we started being like, oh, yeah, that's ples. Or like we play a song, well, that was very ples. And yeah, I don't know. It just felt so good to say. We're kind of freaks like that. We love saying like weird versions of words. And so.
Right, yeah.
And then when it came to like describing our music to people, it was like, well, what kind of music do we play? Like, it is like pleasant rock music. Like, it's not like super, like I used to say like easy rock, but it's not that soft. Like, there's a bit of an edge to it, but it is still like floaty, dreamy, pleasant, but it is still rock, you know? So
Yeah.
so I was like, we play pleasant rock. Yeah. A lot of people think it's pleasure rock, which makes us sound really creepy. Pleasure rock. But yeah, it's not.
Cool. Cool. All right. Well, we're coming to the last segment of my interview.
Ooh.
So, how do you go about finding new music?
Um, how do I go about finding new music? Well, I used to like really love playing shows with various bands from across Canada and being like, oh man, they're super cool. And then checking out their music and falling in love and then finding someone they're playing with. That was always such a great way to discover new music. And
Cool. That's a very grassroots way.
I
like
mean,
that.
yeah, like I don't know. When you see a band play live, there's nothing really quite like it. It totally helps you understand their vibe. There's a lot of bands that if I just listened to their album, and I'd done this where we'd be playing a show with a band, and I'd go and listen to their stuff, and I'd be like, yeah, I don't really get it. Like I don't
Right.
really understand what this is. And and then I'd see them live and I'd be like, oh, I get it now. It's so good.
Right,
And then
yeah.
I'd go back and listen to the same songs I'd listened to before and be like, this is incredible. Like it totally helps you like paint the picture, right, of who they are.
Yeah, for sure.
But now, just Andrew's really good at discovering new music. Like he spends a lot of time on YouTube, and I don't.
Okay.
But so he'll usually like play a song, and I'll like just be like, check out this song. And I'll be like, whoa, that's so cool, and then kind of go on from there. And that's how I've discovered like a lot of my favorite artists, like Sharon Van Etten. I remember the day Andrew's like, I've got 3 new songs that I want to show you, and one of them was 17 by Sharon Van Etten, and I was like, what is this? And then I like bought that whole album and just listened to it on repeat, listened to her older stuff. Same with like another one of my favorite artists, Julia Jacklin. He had been listening to her band Fantastic Furniture and was like, this is so
Okay.
cool. And then I was like, yeah. And then I kind of like started digging a bit deeper and found out who Julia Jacklin was and was like, oh my God. And yeah, so he does a lot of the kind of grunt work, and I just do a lot of the tell me what to listen to. But
Listening.
yeah, and then of course like Spotify algorithms. I'm not gonna lie, like
Yeah.
I turn on my Spotify, and if something cool comes up, I'm like, what is this? So
Right. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, how do you find new music? I would love to know. I'm about to release new music. How do people like?
Right.
How do I get people to hear it in this day and age?
Yeah, the Spotify algorithm is pretty good. It's weird. Like some weeks I'm liking everything on my discovery thing. I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
yes, add. And then other times I'm like, will like an EDM song once, and it's like, oh, Frank loves EDM. Let's just give him all the EDM. And I'm like, I don't like EDM that much. Like,
For sure, for sure.
so yeah, it's kind of hit or miss. I've been spending a lot of time recently. Instagram's been pretty good.
Oh,
like,
really?
Pretty much how you said is just like I'll find a band that I like, and then or after I do an interview of a band, another band will like our interview or my post, and I'm like, oh, who are these guys? So lately, that's been a very good resource.
That's good to know because I spend a lot of time on Instagram and I don't enjoy it. But I'm like,
Yeah.
I have to like, and I'm like, maybe I don't have to, but it is such
Yeah.
like it's such a communication tool, especially people in our age group, right? Like
Yeah,
it's how you
Yeah,
get the
for
word
sure.
out about so much stuff. Like if I released a song and didn't have social media, it's like I don't even know what would happen. Like
Right,
like
yeah.
how would people know? Like send an email out, I guess, to people.
I know, right? Like,
Yeah.
do people still subscribe to mailing lists? I don't know.
So that's good to know that, like, because Darling Recordings has sponsored a few Instagram posts for me. And I'm like, hopefully people, and I have gotten followers and stuff from it, which is great. But I think Instagram is a tool to find new music, even though it's
sure, yeah.
kind of evil and whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's been, and I think that kind of just sounds a bit more like how you said when you're touring or playing with bands. It's kind of similar to that. It's just digital because of COVID right now. Because I would have done it that way too. If I'm looking for like new up and coming artists, I would always just check out. Oh my God! One of the venues we didn't talk about was the Horseshoe.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
Tuesdays is like the new music
Yeah.
night or something like
Yep.
that, and it just like all kinds of different genres are playing. I would find a lot of new music that way, and then the classic blogs. Like I don't really like Pitchfork that much because I find it a bit pretentious,
Yeah.
but they do get it sometimes. NME is also really
So
good.
you still read music blogs?
Yeah,
Cool.
well, it's really been more because of this.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
getting more and more into it, and I've just been doing that. Spotify too.
Yeah, maybe music blogs will have a bit of a resurgence Because
I
they
think they
were
will.
really like hanging on for dear life there last year,
Yeah.
and so many of
Yeah.
them were closing up shop, and I think a lot of them maybe also closed up shop because of COVID, but also like maybe that's the maybe people will start like reading them again and like
Yeah.
finding new music through them because it got like they were so big and so popular, and then in more recent years, uh, just kind of yeah, it just
Yeah.
started fading, right?
I know, I know. I think it's just when a music blog turns into like a company,
Yeah.
I think that's when things get difficult because like suddenly you have like 10 writers instead of the person that started it by themselves. Like it just come, I don't know,
Yeah.
suddenly you have to pay for people's salary and all of that. So that's probably it. Oh, and then a big one too has been Reddit, actually.
Oh,
Reddit's been
really?
very, very cool to find new music. You just, you find the genre you're in, or a genre of music you want to find, you just go on that subreddit and millions of
Wow.
posts. And or listen to this is a good
Yeah.
subreddit. So yeah, it's kind of all across the board.
So would you say that you're looking for new music these days? Like you must be.
Yeah, well, this yeah, definitely always looking for new music. Oh, that was like also before the podcast. I was just constantly just trying to find. I think it just stems from back in the MySpace
Oh
days.
yeah.
That's like I remember finding, oh, what was that band called? They were big for a little bit. Oh, they were doing like synth punk pop. Oh, I can't remember their name now. That sucks. But I remember finding them when they were just a small band on
Oh
Bandcamp.
yeah.
Really got into them. I listened to their demo, which you can't find anywhere. And then 2 years later, they were huge.
Wow.
And I remember being like, "Whoa! I found these guys when they were still small." And I messaged them, and they messaged me
Really?
back.
Oh
And
my
that's so.
God.
And I remember that feeling of just like, I don't know, maybe it's a bit of a selfish thing of like, being like, oh, I was like there before anyone else. But
Yeah.
I really do enjoy that finding, because that's my favorite thing. I think about when I find a new band is always going to their first album and then seeing the evolution of the music. I really enjoy doing that. And yeah, so that's I am actively always looking for music, and I'm always trying to like hopefully find out about new blogs or
Yeah.
anything like that. That's so this is like questions I ask everyone I interview.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, yeah, people say Spotify algorithm, or just like you said, just whoever they're touring
Yeah.
with or whoever's like performing with them that night.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the reason I
Yeah.
asked that was because I kind of have a little bit of a feeling inside of me that people might not be super receptive to new music right now because there's so much fear and anxiety and so much going on in the world, and the news
Right.
and the media are just like blasted with like horror stories basically, because of the current state of everything. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna try to release my album anyway, but I don't know if people
Right.
are really gonna have like the energy, the space for it, like because everyone's
Right.
so like. But it's good to know that I know you're like a huge music fan, so obviously
Yeah. It's a bit different.
it's a bit different. The average person, I
Yeah.
don't know. I kind of have the feeling that the average person might want to just like listen to what's familiar as a sense of
I,
comfort.
I think that's something like, yeah, just like having that like nostalgia of being like, oh, I remember seeing this band
Yeah.
before everything went to shit or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing. But from the people I've spoken to, I don't think so. But again, I think most of my friends are like pretty big into the music, like in the music industry, so they're all kind of looking for new stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think I think what could work is if someone finds a new album that reminds them of a certain time.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like, with your guys' sound, you kind of have like a timeless sound. It doesn't sound necessarily like this is an album that came out in 2020.
Yeah.
This could have come out years ago too, right? And that's cool when you kind of carve your own way, like your own genre as well, because it doesn't necessarily be like this is a 2020 sound. It's not like dubstep
Yeah.
was back in like that's like you could think of the year like yeah, so for a lot of the artists that I've been speaking to is getting on those playlists,
Yeah,
like
for sure.
new rock or whatever. That always helps
For
everyone.
sure.
So
Yeah. If the Spotify gods will allow you onto their playlist.
yeah, exactly. What have you been listening to a lot throughout all of this? So this can be new or old.
The Neil Young song "Unknown Legend." I've listened to it probably 50 times.
Okay.
And then like the new U.S. Girls album. is really amazing. That came out kind of like right as shit was hitting the fan, but so I hope that it did well.
Fantastic.
But it, like, you know, I hope people paid attention to it. I certainly did, but I'm a huge U.S. Girls fan. What else? Yeah, a lot of like stuff like the band, like kind of Americana stuff like that.
Okay.
But also like Friends music. I'm trying to think of what else I've been listening to. Just like stuff I was already kind of listening to, like Angel Olsen's new album and like Sharon Van Etten and that sort of stuff. Kind of consistently, like I'm not the most adventurous music person. I'll admit that, but I know, like, I don't know, maybe that's where I'm getting that feeling from, that people are going to be scared of new music right now. But when you know, people are releasing new music, like Ian Daniel Kehoe, I don't know if you know who that is.
I don't know.
He's amazing. He just released 3 albums, I think, on Bandcamp in like one day, but he put one of the singles on Spotify, and it's so good. I haven't tackled the 3 albums yet, but like his new song's amazing, and I like just put it on repeat for like an hour or something. Cool. But yeah, so it is like I am excited when I see new music coming out, because it's like, well, thank God people are still making music, and thank God people are still doing this and trying and pushing, because it's not easy to be a musician right now, and
definitely not.
And
no.
I just want to like root for everyone that's doing it and that's attempting it, and that's getting their music out there and getting it heard, right? So yeah,
for sure. I do think, I can only imagine for artists, like COVID's probably kind of forced people to really, whether it's COVID affecting you or BLM or, you know, the shit that's going on in Hong Kong or whatever, like it's there's so much going on in the world, and we're all having to stay home, and I think that's like probably fostering a lot of creativity in people. I think right now I'm seeing new music come out all the time, and like you said, I'm like, oh, that's an interesting choice to put this out now, but okay. I'm also noticing people are just dropping singles now. It just seems to be like, you know,
made a song, here you go.
Yeah, exactly. My buddy Jutes out in California, he put out an EP last year, but like since then he's probably put out an album worth of music just in singles. Like that's just, but I think that could also be genre specific. That's more like the hip hop R&B area. So I don't know. It's a weird climate.
Yes, totally. Yeah, I think people also might just be looking for any kind of connection with anyone, and putting out music usually connects you to people, and
definitely.
It's a scary, scary time, and we are all being told to stay home. Like even on the radio yesterday, Doug Ford is like, you need to stop with the social gatherings, please, I'm begging you. Which is like, yeah, all good and fine, but it's just interesting. When has that ever been said on the radio? Like your premier come on the radio to be like, you need to stop the social gatherings. It's like, okay, I'm sorry. I just wanted to see a couple friends. Like, I'll stop. I'm sorry. Like,
don't.
You know, and it's like, okay, I'll stay home. But it's just an interesting time, and then not having the release of hanging out with other people and being able to talk about it that you usually get with, like, if there's something going on, that you can be around people and hug and just cry together. It's like you have to like be at home, and like even when you are with people, it's like you're wearing a mask, and you're keeping far apart, you're not touching. So I hope it's a creative time for people, but I think it's also just kind of a lonely time for people. And I think putting out music is an attempt to be like, okay, someone, can you hear me? Is anyone out there?
Exactly. Yeah. I totally agree with that. Cool. All right. And then last question for you. Who are some new, like, up-and-coming artists, maybe people you've played with, that you think deserve to be listened to and pushed?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I always am like, okay, I gotta name all my friends. Okay, so I'll just name a few. Like, been a huge fan of Elcon for years. I think I've recommended her to you before. She's constantly making stuff. She's super talented. I've got friends in a band called Gloin, which they're super cool. I don't know if you ever met Brenda, the band?
Yes. So that's your my brother right? Isn't Brenda?
So it's
very different to your sound.
I know. He's a different guy, that guy. But yeah, so it's like 2 guys from Brenda are in Gloin, not my brother. But Gloin is, I think, coming out with some new stuff soon. My friend Ramshi, he's doing some incredible work. He's making a new album right now that I actually I perform on as well. And he does like electronic music, and he comes from a background of playing, like, first he was into really like psychedelic punk, and then he was doing like more hardcore kind of music, and now he's doing like electronic like jams, and they're just so good. And he works all day every day at it, which is awesome. So he's a really cool guy. And I
Is that what he performs under, Ramchi?
Ramshi, yeah. So Romshii. Check out his stuff. And yeah, so I don't know when his new album's coming out. I don't even know if I'm allowed to talk about it, but he's
maybe I'll hit him up.
Yeah, you should hit him up for sure. And yeah, that's kind of 3 people that come to mind right now. Yeah.
Sweet. How is Brenda doing? Are they still a band, or?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't know where they were at last year. We played at Rainbow Trout Festival with them last year, which was super fun. They played like kind of right after us, and it was just so awesome to be there.
That's interesting. And a lineup sound
yeah, well,
change.
there was one band between us that kind of bridged the gap, but it was just great, you know. Like Brenda is like, it's hardcore music, but they've got this softy edge to them too. Like
yeah. It's kind of like have you ever watched F is for Family?
No, but I've heard
that show on
it.
Netflix.
No, I haven't seen it.
So one of the sons is into like wizard rock.
Oh yeah.
And Brenda, like, just the stuff they sing about, I'm just like, oh my god, this is like hardcore wizard rock, or not wizard rock, but like, I don't know, they talk about space and all this crazy shit.
Yeah, no, I think John writes songs like based on like Lord of the Rings and stuff. So like
that makes a lot of sense.
I
Yeah.
think. So we played that festival with them, which was so fun, you know, to have my brother and like my friends there. We're the only 2 like Toronto bands there. So but yeah, I don't know. I think maybe like we were planning to take a break from shows. I think they were going to take a break from shows, and then COVID happened, and now it's like I have no idea what's going on.
Right. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard for sure, especially with a band, right? Like you know, at least with you and Andrew, you're both able to still make stuff together because you're seeing each other, and then if you're in a band, that's
I know.
tough.
I haven't seen
it's
my band
tough.
members since March or February, right? So it's like
Is everyone in Orangeville?
No,
like the whole band?
They're like in Toronto and Guelph and stuff. Like I've seen one of them is my brother's girlfriend. If she's I mean, she was playing with us, and so I've seen her like casually, but not practicing music, you know. But
right.
So
is your brother back in Orangeville?
No, he's in Toronto. Yeah.
Still in Toronto? Right.
Good.
Cool. Anyway, Sarah, we are done. Thank you so much.
Cool.
See, it was pretty chill. Very easy.
Yeah, it was easy. I feel like I dished about literally every single part of my life. All right. Bye.